Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, look out there. Can y'all see out? You can see out the window. Look how weathery it is out there. It's all windy and cold, which makes me think it's gonna get really cold soon, but that's all right. We'll worry about that later. For right now, y'all just go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I will get us going the way we're going, and then I'll tell you what we're up to. I know. Y'all are thinking, duh, Danielle, we know what we're up to. We're ootin' a boot. We must be going to PT. No, because we're on a break, remember? So when last we spoke of PT, I'm sure I told y'all this, right? I'm sure I told y'all. Katie said that she'd fixed everything she knew how to fix. Well, what happened was she said that if she had a magic fix for what was wrong with me, she already would have magic fixed it, and that I'm doing everything I need to be doing, and so I just need to keep on doing it, give it some time, and then come back and see how we're doing. So we're taking a little break. We're going to go 4 weeks and see how things progress, and then I'm going to go back and she's going to check me. So, and of course she said, call if anything gets broke in the meantime, but so y'all, we ain't got no PT for 4 weeks. What? I know I say that like I'm all excited, like I don't like going to see my Katie, but it's progress. We have gone from PT every week religiously to PT like mostly every week to now intentionally taking a 4-week break. So I still do my PT every day, but I don't have to go every week. So that's good. So that's that. So now we are ready, y'all. I'm so tired, I'm busy, we got so much to do, but we're not going to spend the whole video whining about that. I am going to tell you one thing though, but we got to run and pick up some groceries because of course we're going to make some stuff, and I never have in my house the stuff that I need to make the stuff we're going to make, so we're going to get that. But I got to tell you, y'all, I am so stressed out because it's almost January 21st, which means that it's almost time for the next Fourth Wing book to come out, which means then it's going to be time for the next Butcher and Blackbird book to come out. Y'all, I know, I'm like borderline tempted to skip for now, to just shelf so we read, I know this isn't a book video, but y'all just relax. We read Fourth Wing, and then we read the fire one. What is it called? Whatever it's called. The fire. What is it called? Flame. Something flame. I'll think of it while I'm talking. Anyway. And that was, it was really good, but it was a little long. And something tells me that Onyx Storm is going to be really long. So that comes out the 21st. And then I meant to look and see, but Scythe and Sparrow comes out, I want to say like February 7th or something, and y'all know that I'm going to want to devour that book the second it comes out. So I'm tempted to shelf the dragons, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit horrified to read Onyx Storm because of how traumatizing. I thought if I did that it would come out. What is that book called? Fourth Wing. I can see it. I can see the cover of it. Anyway, we're not talking books today anyway. So y'all, yeah. So I'm reading a book right now for a book vlog, and I was like, well, I need to hurry up and finish it so that I can read Onyx Storm when it comes out on the 21st. But now I've kind of like talked myself off of that. Y'all, I know y'all are like, you're insane. Like, why do we hang out with you? You are crazy. I know. The intern has like 3 things that he pretty regularly like grinds my gears about. One of them is like when I'm reading books, just bawling. Like sometimes I have to text him and say like, nobody's dead. I just finished a book and I'm in a certain way about it before he comes home, so that he doesn't come home and see me on the couch in a puddle crying ugly tears and think that like my mom's dead or something. So he's always like, you make reading look like so much fun. Why would I not want to read watching you read? So that's his one thing, is he makes fun of like how tortured I am when I read. and that it makes him never ever want to. He like loves reading. He doesn't have time to read now, but he enjoys reading. So there's that. And he says, because like I'm always hurt, like I'm always icing something, rehabbing something, zapping something, PTing on the floor, like I squat down and go to stand up and I like make old people noises. So he says, I make reading look like so much fun, I make fitness look like so much fun, and I cannot believe I'm telling y'all this one, but he says that I'm the, this can't be true, y'all. Somebody please vindicate me in the chat or in the comments. He says that I'm the only person that fangirls. I'm like the only congressional fangirl on the face of the earth. Like we'll be watching something and watching like and of course we're in the US, so like people who aren't here, like who are in other countries, I'm talking about like our political representatives, or really representatives that aren't even ours, like people in other states. We'll be watching, and like it's more senators really than House of Representatives, but like a senator that I really like will say something, I'll be like, baby, let's move to that state so we can vote for them, and he's like, you are literally the only like congressional fangirl I've ever met in my life. So yeah, I know, that's why he loves me. Like the intern's ability to manage me and my behaviors is like the best thing that we have going in our relationship. Anyway, so we're almost to pick up the groceries, and I've told you nothing about what we're talking about. So here's what we're talking about today. Our friend Cameron Anderson from the Brushfire Mind, who is very smart, and he asks me these like annoying smart people questions that I can't just be like, oh yeah, that's a flux capacitor, just get that at the, you know, at the local AutoZone and you'll be fine. He asked me these like questions that I have to really think about. I just hit a curb. Or like this one, I knew some stuff, but then I had to learn some more stuff. So he texts me, he and I both, our jobs both have us up working early in the morning. So he texted me early the other morning and was like, hey, what's up with 0-calorie food? Like, how can a food that's not water or ice be 0 calories? Which is a valid question. And then, you know, he went on this whole rant, and don't get your feelings hurt, Cam, you know you were on a rant. Goes on this whole rant about, because he's really smart, you know how smart people do that. Goes on this whole rant, and then he's like, okay, here's my question. How can ingredient lists claim that, whoa, almost just got my clock cleaned. Well, that car was little, I would have won, but still it would have been a mess. How can ingredient lists claim that their food is 0 calories? Because if it's not water, obviously it's not. And we know that they lie. Like, we know that folks lie. So how can you know when it's true? So hang on. Obviously, I just got to the Walmart. So let me get things going here, and I'll be right back. So y'all hang on. So he said, you know, I know you do Weight Watchers, which is points, not calories. But anyway, so let's talk about 0-calorie foods and 0-point foods. And I'm going to try to keep those straight because they're two different things. So here is what I thought I knew, and then what I learned about 0-calorie foods. So one, the FDA is a bunch of shady folks. We'll just leave it at that and not be overly descriptive. And we know that they don't always make like the best choices and best decisions to protect us as consumers. Make whatever judgment you make about this, but to be a 0-point food, I'm already doing it. To be a 0-calorie food, a food has to have fewer than 5 calories per serving. So one of the things that Cam asked me about in his early morning rant was he like showed me a picture of a pickle, like a single like serving package pickle, and it was, I think it was like a third or a fifth of the pickle was a serving. So like, you know, it was like a pickle, and a fifth of the pickle was a serving, and it claimed to be a 0-calorie food. That's because it could have up to 5 calories and count as a 0-calorie food. So so the pickle must have been 25 calories, which makes sense because I think a cucumber is like 20 calories or something. So there are no true 0-calorie foods. Let's get that out there from the jump. If it's not water or ice, it is not 0 calories. Some foods are low enough in calories that by definition, they can call them 0 calories, but you're gaining calories when you eat them. Now, a calorie Like, there is a very specific scientific definition of a calorie. A calorie is the amount of energy that it takes to raise 1 gram. Okay, hang on. I was not good in chemistry. Y'all know I'm not the scientist in the family. 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius. So you can test. I mean, there are like scientific experiments you can do to determine the number of calories in food. So if it has fewer than 5 calories per serving, it can be counted as 0 calories. Now, there's this whole theory of, and I should air quote theory, this whole theory of negative calorie foods. They don't exist. Supposedly, and y'all, you can find folks on the interwebs. I might have gone down a little rabbit hole here, my dang self, thanks Cam. And this rabbit hole was a scary place to be. But there are folks who will argue and tell you that there are foods that when you eat them, you spend more calories chewing and digesting than you do, than the foods cost you, than the foods have in them, or than you consume eating the foods. Why can't I speak? I'm not even trying to drive and speak. I'm trying to watch about me. But so you eat the food, you get calories from the food. If it takes more energy to chew and digest the food than the food has in it, then that's a negative calorie food. And there are some fancy names for that, like thermic effect, specific dynamic action maybe, and dietary induced thermogenics. All of that is about, oh, hang on, here comes my food. Y'all, hang on a second. Okay. The groceries have been fetched. Now I got to go fetch my prescription, which I almost forgot, y'all. So anyway, that whole thermal thing, that's the amount of energy that you expend storing or using food above your basal level. So the amount of energy you use just to either use or store food. And it can be measured. And the number of calories, which is a measurement of energy, in food can also be measured. So, like celery, for instance. People, I've heard for years, that, I keep looking. I'm gonna crack this down a little so I'll hear them when they talk. I've heard for years that you expend more energy or more calories eating celery than there is in celery. That's not true, y'all. I have notes. Hang on. I brought my notes with me. Celery, there's 6 calories in a stick of celery. It takes 1/2 calorie to digest celery, so your net there is 5.5 calories, like half a calorie to chew and digest. And y'all, celery is pretty fibery, and we're going to get to that too, that it takes more energy, it takes your body more energy and more time to break down food that has more dietary fiber. So you use more energy to do that than to digest a Twinkie, right? So there is absolutely no way that there are foods that it takes more energy to digest than is actually stored in the food. So there are no negative calorie foods and there are no true 0 calorie foods. Now, there are lots of foods that you can, very processed, very not real foods that you can buy that claim to be 0 calories. Y'all, I say I try not to get in grown folks' business and not to tell grown folks what to do. Stay away from those foods. Y'all know that we try to focus on eating real healthy foods, and I'm a huge fan of the 0 point food, and we are going to talk about the overlap between a Venn diagram where 0 point foods and 0 calorie foods meet, which is, there are lots, not 0 calorie foods. There are foods that count as 0 calories, but very low calorie foods. There are lots of very low calorie foods that are 0 points, because those foods that broach into sort of the close to 0 calorie, or ones that people like to say are negative calories, are foods that are high in water, high in moisture, high in dietary fiber and low in calories, which is what we look for in food, like on Weight Watchers for 0 point foods. So hang on, y'all, let me look at my notes and see, because I'm trying to like talk off the top of my head, but I have notes, so hang on. So I did tell you, I think, all the things I wanted to tell you, and if not, then early morning editing Danielle will just drop it in where it's appropriate. But I'm sitting at the drive-up pharmacy. I never know if you're supposed to mash the call button, because I feel like whenever I do that, they're a little huffy when they answer. But I've been sitting here. Y'all see how long well, anyway, we'll just sit here and finish chatting, and then I'll call them. So anyhow, it is better to focus on foods that are higher in dietary fiber, lower in calories. Then my suggestion is to focus on foods that are higher in dietary fiber, lower in calories, and stay away from like the fake foods, the really like highly processed foods, because when your body breaks down the natural foods, like the good foods, it takes more time to break it down. So you feel full longer, and you're actually using more calories to do that. All right, I'm gonna push the button. From now on, I'm always just pushing the button because they got waited on sooner, and we've been waiting here for 5 minutes. So anyway, your body takes longer to break down those foods. You feel full longer, and it takes more energy.
Right with you.
Thank you. So, all right, so let's do this. Let's go home and let's talk about, let's get out of this car, and let's talk about some foods that are high in dietary fiber and low in calories that overlap in the 0 point, either 0 calorie or low calorie category, and what we should be eating. Then we'll do a workout and we'll make something. I'm gonna make something 0 points. So y'all sit tight and I'll meet you at the house. Y'all, Walmart totally subbed my unsweet almond milk with regular almond milk. What kind of world are we living in? I know. No, for real though. Hang on, you're looking over the back of my head. I remember when I had my almond milk saga, it reminded me that I had to tell y'all that, I know I've been yapping for 20 minutes already. So I said that, and I know, as soon as I say this, y'all are all going to be like, we knew that. That is a very cute car. I said that my half a cup of my unsweet almond milk was 1 point. It is not. So I went to look, because Debbie, was it you that said that your almond milk, your vanilla almond milk, was no points for half a cup? So I was like, well, I'm going to use that. Well, so then I went and looked, and I was like, well, why I got to have points and you don't got no points for half a cup? It's almond milk. So I looked, and y'all, I did what I tell us to never ever do. I used the entry in the app. I didn't scan the calories, and I knew, like, my mom and I literally had this conversation over Christmas. I know how many points are in dang almond milk. I knew it was 0 points for half a cup because I used to eat half a cup all the time in my Cheerios. I know. So yeah, so unsweet silk almond milk is 0 points for half a cup, which is what I use. I was just using a wrong entry, but then I got to thinking, you ain't doing yourself any favors. No, I'm about to not do myself any. Oh, I just said a dirty word. I just cut a car off. Bad things are happening here. I'm making bad driving choices. Okay, let's settle down. I'm not doing myself any favors by not counting. I mean, first of all, 1 point is not going to make or break my life. And I'm not doing myself any favors by not counting that point, because I have almond milk, which like at some point becomes points. And I have my chocolate in that, like the cocoa in that oatmeal, which at some point becomes some points. So like legalistically, by like Weight Watchers rules, each of those is 0 points. So I don't have to count points for either one of those, but I am going to continue to use I know nobody cares. Like, I realize y'all have long since stopped. Like, if you had any interest to begin with, you've long since lost interest in this conversation, but I felt like I needed to come back and rectify my wrongness and say that I know that my half a cup of almond milk doesn't have points, I lost my mind. But I'm still going to count it because I need to round up because y'all, good things are not happening with my weight. Now, I've made some not great choices this week. I was joking about like I'm tired, I'm all busy because I got to read all these books. I am tired, and I've been making some not great dinner choices. So I am going to make a big old pot of some 0 points. I think I'm going to make, I don't know, we'll see when we get home. I'm going to make a big old pot of 0 point something to keep in the fridge because I have been so tired at the end of the day. I don't know why, but the intern has been sick for like 3 weeks, and I don't know if I've gotten a little touch of what he's got. I don't know what my damage is, but been so tired at the end of the day, I just haven't felt like messing with anything, and I've been making not good food choices. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a big old pot of something, and I'm gonna keep it in the fridge, and if I'm not gonna make something else that's good, I'm gonna eat that and not have like, I don't know, Tombstone pizza or something, because the intern is a horrible influence. So, no idea what that whole ramble was, but except that I have I'm off the peanut butter and the weight is not coming back off like I thought it would, but I'm still eating oatmeal in the mornings. So I'm going to get all of the rest of my eating in check. And y'all, if the weight doesn't start coming off like it did, I'm going to decide that my body is apparently not accepting the new 0 point rules. I'm going to go back to eating buckets of Greek yogurt because that did my body right. So, and I know that like I'm touchy about carbs, and oatmeal is a ton of carbs. So, I mean, maybe that's just our lesson here. Maybe I've learned a hard lesson for all of us. Y'all are welcome. So, let me get home and actually get us out this car like I said I was gonna. And we'll talk about 0 point foods and like low calorie foods and like a short list of the overlap because now we're like 30 minutes into this ride. So, I'll see y'all at the house. All right, y'all, I'm not sure if this is literally the dumbest list we've ever made or if it's actually helpful. So we gonna make it and y'all can use it or not, but I gotta tell you. So I got home and I told you like the weather is super weathering. Like it's whipping up a gale out there. It is very, very windy. It's cold. It's nasty. And it was trash day today. So the trash cans were down the road. So I had to bundle up and go down and get the trash cans before they ended up in like Tucson or somewhere. So I was bringing them up and the dogs had gone out. Well, they went out the back and I went out the front. And like all the other dogs in the neighborhood were out. So I was hoping that the felons wouldn't realize that I was out in the front. So I came around the house and there was only one felon sitting at the door. Y'all, it was the big, like well, there's the felons got their hair cut. Y'all look, can you see the little felon on the couch? The big felon, of course, is big. The bigger of the two small felons is at my feet, so you can't see him right now. But anyway, so the little felon wasn't, like the big felon was at the door, but the little one, Daisy, was off. I don't know where she was. But I was reminded of, y'all remember Louis Grizzard when he talked about the weather dog, when he'd send the weather dog out to find out what the weather was like? And if the weather dog came in wet, you knew it was raining. And if he came in whatever, you knew it was something. And if the weather dog didn't come in at all, you'd say it was windy outside. And I was like, oh my Lord, it's windy and I lost the weather dog. I know, y'all, seriously, I cracked myself up, which is a good thing. So anyway, I'm going to give just the teeny tiniest little list because I'm kind of like half like this is just dumb. Because of course, many Weight Watchers 0 point foods are low in calories because that's the point, right? They're low calories, high. I think she's actually barking, like literally barking at the wind. So anyway, I'm about to have to snatch her down off that couch. Weight Watchers 0 point foods are low calorie, high in dietary fiber, like low calorie, low carb, and high in dietary fiber. So I guess the point here is really to talk about good, healthy foods that are super low in calories. And those are going to be foods like fruits, right? Like apples, oranges, bananas, strawberries, melons. Melons are super low in calories, very like high in moisture. So, and let me say this too. If what you're focusing on is like intermittent fasting or something like that, like you're doing, because I know a lot of people are doing like juice fast or some kind of fast. Y'all, I don't know nothing about any of that. Like I don't do intermittent fasting. I was talking to a friend who does intermittent fasting, and
something about like as women get older, you need, I don't know, something about like you need protein before you work out. So she's been like breaking her fast with protein, which she wasn't doing, and something about it encourages your body to produce, I was going to say creatine, but that's not right. It encourages your body to produce or like stimulates the production of cortisol, I think. Anyway, I don't know. But so there's all of those like smart, like body science things that I know nothing about, but I do know that these foods are low in calories and they are 0 points. So if you're like trying to figure out that whole 0 calorie food thing, ain't no such thing, but there are low calorie foods. So fruits, did we talk about vegetables? So veggies, and especially veggies that are high in water content. Like celery is the one that people tell you that like you lose weight just eating it. So celery, cucumbers, I think are also on that negative calorie food list. Peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, we talked about cucumbers, celery, onions, all of those are very, very low in calories. So like, I'm not saying sit around and eat an onion as a snack, but maybe if you incorporate onion into things that you're cooking, you still get sort of some volume from the onion, but it cuts down on your calories. All the green leafy things, right? Like chard, any kind of lettuce. I saw iceberg lettuce on a list, y'all. I'm going to get up in grown folks' business and tell you don't eat iceberg lettuce. Please don't eat iceberg. There's so many other healthier choices for lettuce out there. Don't eat iceberg lettuce. I kid you not, y'all. This is not allegorical. This, honest to Jesus, happened. Iceberg lettuce is so unhealthy that when I had turtles, the vet said, do not feed your turtle iceberg lettuce because they like it so much, they won't eat anything else, and they will starve to death. No matter how much you feed them, I'm not like, this isn't like celery is negative calorie food. This really happened. They said, don't feed them iceberg lettuce because there is such a dearth of nutrition in iceberg lettuce that your turtles will starve to death no matter how much you feed them because they will fill up on iceberg lettuce and have no nutrition. So y'all, don't eat iceberg lettuce. Cruciferous vegetables. I did that just to show off. So like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all of those, very low in calories, obviously 0 points, fabulous for you. Are those the antioxidants? Now I'm trying to act smart and I don't know what I'm talking about, but they are all great sources of vitamins and do have great nutritional value. So y'all just like think about those and maybe try to get away from the more processed 0 calorie foods and snacks. I thought about doing a list of like 0 calorie, like processed, like, to show 0 calorie foods to avoid. But one, because I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm better than that. Y'all, I ate a Tombstone pizza, not by myself, but I ate Tombstone pizza the other night. So I'm not trying to act all high and mighty like I eat all the best things. I just don't eat those snacks. So I don't know which ones are like tasty. So like people might actually eat them and which ones just taste like burnt shoe rubber. So nobody would ever eat them anyway. So I'm not even going to like delve into those low calorie, really processed snacks, but I am going to say that they are not good for you. So just stay away from them. So that's it. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm gonna go do some yoga because I'm very sore. And even though I didn't have PT today, don't mean I got the day off. So I'm gonna do that. And then I will see y'all in the kitchen and we'll make something.
Waking up, it's gone. It leaves us feeling cold again. Picking up the stones our hands were made to feel. And moments like these, they show us what we've got when we ain't got a thing. We've got us. 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 Yes! His eyes look infected. His left
All right, y'all. Let's make some stuff. Now, y'all know it's cold outside. So I want to make a pot of soup. And I decided I want to make hamburger soup. But I want to make it not necessarily fancy, but not fancy, but I want to make, so I decided to make, can y'all see that? Well, here, let's use this camera. I decided to make meatballs instead of just like frying out my ground beef. But I made like the world's simplest meatballs because I didn't want like a whole bunch of meatball stuff in my soup. So all I did was took a pound of ground beef, threw in an egg, mushed it up, and threw in some everything but the kitchen sink seasoning and salt and pepper, just to give the meat a little flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and brown these a little bit to get things started. So I'm going to throw these in a pot. And y'all, we got a bunch of meatballs. Because I made them small. Normally, when we make meatballs, I just washed my hands again. Normally when we make meatballs, I use a tablespoon measure, but I used a teaspoon this time, and I like legit measured them out mostly. Like some of them were like a rounded up teaspoon, but I wanted the meatballs to just be a bite, because who wants like this one is a little bit big, but because you don't want to have to like break stuff up in your soup. So, and like I said, I'm gonna brown these pretty well. They're probably not going to cook all the way through, but that's fine because, y'all, it's soup. It's going to go in the oven at 250 and cook for a bunch of hours, because wait till you see what all we're putting in this thing. But I'm going to brown the outsides pretty good. I'm going to almost sear them really to get a little like crunch to it. And again, you don't want to have to look at all these balls, y'all. Y'all don't be naughty. But yeah, you don't want to have to like cut these up when you're trying to eat soup. So I made them little. So I'm going to stop chattering. I'm going to brown these and I'll be back. All right, so those are nicely browned and have a pretty good form to them. I'm going to scoop them out of here. I was debating if they would fit in my bowl or not. I'm going to give it a shot. Oh yeah, I think those will hold together nicely. And now, I'm going to leave that schmutz in the pan. And I'm going to use it to saute some carrots and celery for my soup. Let that cook down just a little bit. Now, normally, of course, I would throw in onions as well, but I really think the intern will eat this, so I'm not going to put in any onions. So I'm going to let that go a second. Debating my order of events here. I think I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, I am. All right, hang on. So I was debating using, you know how we do cabbage sometimes in soup as a filler? Well, y'all, potatoes are now 0 points. So I'm going to use potatoes. And I think I said, I think this is going to be a 0 point soup. Well, we haven't really put anything in it yet. But nothing that I plan to put in it is going to have any points. The hamburger that I used is 93% lean, and according to Weight Watchers, you can go as much as only 90% lean, and it's still 0 points. So I'm going to let this go for just a minute, and I have to keep reminding myself this is a soup, not a stew. So we don't want it like completely jam-packed full of everything. I mean, but we kind of do. I dropped a meatball and it is in the fire. Hang on, let me get that out of there before I set the house on fire. Look at that poor little thing. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and throw some more stuff in here. I got frozen green beans. Let me cut this open. Hang on. Oh, these are actually nice looking. I got the bird's eye ones. Look how nice looking those are. I don't know why I feel like those are going to stand up to the cooking better than canned ones. But there's those. Let's go ahead and throw in some corn. All right, we'll just do all the corns. I have more corn if we need it, so we'll just see how we do. Ooh, that's pretty, y'all. I tried to cut my potatoes bite size. They might be a little bit bigger than I wanted them, but I think it's all right. The meatballs definitely worked out because they shrunk, of course. It's like the opposite. They shrunk with the heat instead of the cold. All right, let me throw in some garlic. All right, and now I'm going to throw in a couple of cans of fire roasted diced tomatoes. I don't know where it's easier for y'all to see. Fire roasted diced tomatoes. Throw in some oregano. I was debating. Oh, yes. Some other. Is oregano a spice? It's not a spice. It's a seasoning, whatever it is. Some other seasonings, but I think I'm just going to go with oregano and not completely overdo it. Go figure. All right, so there's all that. Now, I'm going to throw in some water. And I'm going to add some beef better than bouillon. Here, let me show y'all here. Beef better than bouillon. And once I get everything all stirred up, I'm going to put my meatballs back in because I just don't want them to get banged around too much and get all busted up and then like defeat the purpose of making the meatballs in the first place. So, this is looking nice though, y'all. Those green beans look really good. Oh, it smells delicious. Should I put in a little more water? You think it's gonna cook down, but I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna y'all know I bake my soups, right? Instead of doing them well, first of all, I'm definitely not gonna do it on the stovetop and act like I think I'm gonna pay attention to it and not burn it. But I don't know, I just like doing it in the stove better than in a crock pot most of the time too. So, and y'all, this might like be just completely made up in my head, but I just feel like in the stove it gets more evenly heated. Like I feel like, I don't know, again, maybe completely made up in my head, but I feel like in the crock pot, I don't know, like it just, like that bottom and sides heating versus like the all around heating of the stove, again, maybe completely made up in my head, but it's my soup and it's my head, so I can go with my own theories if I want to. So, with that being said, having said all of those words, I'm going to put my semi-cooked meatballs into my hamburger soup. Look how pretty it is, y'all. I'm excited. All right. Executive decision. I am debating the water. Dang it. All right, hang on. Let me think. I know those potatoes, you know what? Yes, because look, it 100% just turned to stew instead of soup. So I got like 4 cups of water in this cute little Pioneer Woman water jug. So yeah, that's like 4 cups all day. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover her up. I'm going to clean up this dumpster fire that you can't see in my kitchen because it's that bad. I'm going to stick it in the oven at 250 for at least 3 hours. And then, you know what? I'm going to let it come to a boil first. I'm going to let it boil and break down some of the starch in those potatoes because it might boil in the oven, but it's not going to be like a good hard rolling boil. So I'm going to let it boil for just a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to cut it off, stick it in the oven covered at 250 and let it bake for at least 3 hours. And then we'll come back and we'll see what we got, all right? So y'all enjoy your next 3 hours and I'll see you in a while. Friends, let me ask you a quick question. Did anybody notice while I was hurling cans of diced tomatoes into my soup pot all willy-nilly, anybody notice that the can that I said, the cans, 2 cans, that I said were fire roasted diced tomatoes actually said fire roasted diced tomatoes with chilies? Oh, you didn't notice? Yeah, no, neither did I. I'll tell you a little story. So, remember I said that I was going to keep a close eye on the thing to see if I needed to add water to it? Well, I was keeping an eye for 2 things. To see if I needed to add water and to see how the potatoes were cooking because I just didn't know. I wanted to make sure they were good, but not like you don't want them to overcook them and make them get mealy. So it was cooking and things are looking good. We're clicking right along. The consistency was good. I wasn't going to add any water. And I was like, well, let me taste a potato. So I took out a potato at about 2 hours, took out a potato and tasted it, and y'all, I about died. It was so hot. And I was like, why is this so hot? And I knew that I had put a fair amount of this everything but the kitchen sink seasoning in my meatballs, but I was like, there's no way that that is going to make this thing that hot. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there was a meatball right beside this potato and they were like hanging out together and were swapping things. And so I kept cooking it and I was like, what? That makes no sense. Like you're being a fool. That makes no sense. Why is that so hot? It was hot. So then I was like, I wonder if those tomatoes for some reason were spicy because that's the only other thing I put in there. So I fished the cans out of the recycling and y'all, yes. So let me tell you what I did. I took it out and the only other tomatoes I have in my house was a big can of crushed tomatoes. So I dumped that in just to try to combat the hotness. So let me say this. It looked really, really good. So all the things that we did, I think would have been a really good soup had I used the right tomatoes. This is going to be hot and I'm not excited to try it, but you know what? Hang on. Let me get another camera. Hang on. All right, there we go. So instead of me shoving this up in y'all's face, I can show it to you like this, like humans. Now, don't look at the color because that's from I had to dump in all those tomatoes, but the meatballs held up nicely. The potatoes look really good. Y'all, it looks great. I'm heart sick that I put in the wrong tomatoes. So here's the deal. We're going to try this because I want to see how the meatballs are and I want to just see how the whole thing is. Now it's going to be hot, but it's all right. So let's go. Oh, I also made these little cutie cornbread muffins. Now, this is a Weight Watchers friendly recipe, and the way that I made them, so I'll tell you what the recipe is, but if you make 36 or more of them, at 36 it's 1 point per. So you can eat 3 or 4, which is like a regular muffin, and it's 3 or 4 points. But if you only want a bite or 2, you can control what you're eating. So let me tell you what those are, but I'm not stalling. I might be stalling, but let me tell you what those are. So here's how we did that. I'm going to read you the recipe because I've only done it once, so I don't remember it. That was a cup of cornmeal. I used yellow cornmeal. A cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon salt. It's supposed to be sea salt. I just used salt. A 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, a 14.5 ounce can of cream corn, a 1/2 cup of low-fat buttermilk, 2 egg whites, and 2/3 tablespoon olive oil, and you just mix all the dry ingredients together, and then you kind of make a hole in the middle, and you're supposed to mix all the wet ingredients up together, but I mixed up everything except the buttermilk. Put those in there, kind of mixed it up some, threw in the buttermilk, mixed it up good, and then here's what we got. They're cute. It rose nicely. They could have cooked a little longer, I guess, but all right, let's go. We'll try those in a minute. First, we're going to do this because I feel like I'm going to need that to cut this. So let's start with, I don't know if y'all are seeing this. I'm going to get a potato and some vegetables, and let's just see. Oh, y'all. All right, here we go. I'm only going to say this once. I'm not going to keep on about this, but that is legit hotter than the oil on the hammer down hinges of hell, y'all. Oh my word. Okay, so that's not the point though, because we're not going to really make it that way. The consistency of the potatoes is spot on. So it cooked for about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes. Potatoes are perfect. The vegetables are still good. So going with the frozen corn was a good, of course we do frozen corn, but I think either kind of corn is good. The frozen beans was a good call. Because they still have just a little bit of a, they're not al dente, but they still have some firmness to them. I'm gonna go for a meatball. I don't know why I'm getting the soup. You know how when you eat sushi and you put wasabi on it and it goes, and like you feel like your whole brain is like not on fire hot, but like, and then it comes down and you're like, oh, I'm ready for some more of that. It's a little bit what I feel like right now. A little bit. Oh, that's good. It's hot. I'm not going to keep saying that. It's good. The consistency of the meatballs is really good. They're not dried out and they're not crumbly, even though they cooked for 2.5 hours. I think because we seared them well, so that seared in all the goodness. So the soup that we tried to make, I think I'm very close to you. I'm sorry. I think the soup that we tried to make is a great idea. The soup that we did make, not so much, but it's all right. So let's try this. So the consistency of these is good. They're moist. If you like a crumbly cornbread, this isn't the one. The consistency is good. If you like a sweet cornbread, this is definitely not the one, but see how light it is? I realized, I think as I was scooping them in to bake them, like into the little muffin tins, there's no sugar, no nothing in here. So I think I might try this again, but use some of our monk fruit sweetener and see how that does. I'm going to find a real cornbread recipe and see how much sugar it takes. And I think the idea here was that cream corn was going to be sweet enough. It ain't sweet enough. So I'm going to add some monk fruit sweetener to this recipe and see what we get. And we'll do this again one day. That soup, y'all, is really good, except, I put some devil's sweat in it and I set it on fire. But if you use the tomatoes that we meant to use, that would be really good. So that's it. I'm going to get out of here. So we have a list of, we know our 0-point foods, but a list of low-calorie, 0-point foods to think about. We have a theory of a soup to make and some cornbread that we don't like. So y'all, that's a win-win-win for the day. Let us know in the comments. Do you track calories? Do you track points? What do you do? Do you intermittently fast? And if so, tell me what you think about 0-calorie foods. What do they do to your fast? And do you think 0-calorie foods actually exist? Let us know in the comments. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.